San Francisco is a very popular place in which to base storylines for lots and lots of movies and TV shows, mostly because of its exceptionally distinctive architecture and landmarks. For those of us who live in the area, it's kind of a neat feeling to be able to glimpse familiar buildings and scenery from time to time on the big and little screens. And for big fans of movies and TV shows to make that pilgrimage to certain filming locations when they're visiting from out of town. And I often do get pinged by viewers asking for help identifying them. And to share that research, I've compiled all the most popular titles into this video series. So stay tuned as the plot thickens. There's got to be a twist or two to every story, and here's mine. First, not all films set in San Francisco are actually filmed in San Francisco. Digital production nowadays makes it easy and cheap to manipulate backgrounds, and given how expensive the Bay Area is, a lot of film companies are deciding not to film here. So I'm only going to cover scenes that were actually filmed here and not just inserted stock footage. Second, given quarantine, my home resources are quite limited, so apologies in advance for the low quality clips that I will be providing, but they're sufficient to get the point across. And if you want a higher quality experience, you'll just have to watch the movie or go visit the location in person. Third, there have been so many great San Francisco-based movies over the last few decades that it was super difficult to narrow it down into a manageable list. So I'm making this into a video series and broken down the titles into several videos. So look for a part 2, 3, and maybe even a 4th. In today's video, we cover superheroes in Silicon Valley. I will include addresses and location information down in the description box below if you want a self-tour. As always, please be respectful of private residences and don't trespass or loiter. Thank you. Let's start first with the mega blockbusters. Superheroes have always tapped our imaginations, and over the last decade, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, has produced 23 films grossing over $22 billion in revenue. While the Avengers are at the center of this universe, there's still a whole other portfolio of non-mainstream characters. For some reason, several of them are located right here in San Francisco, which makes for some interesting filming locations. AntMan is one of the more popular ones. Paul Rudd plays the titular character, and it also stars Michael Douglas as scientist and Ant-Man inventor Hank Pym, and Evangeline Lilly as his daughter, Hope Van Dyne, who in the sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, goes on to be a superhero in her own right. There are so many awesome aerial shots of the city throughout, including this skyline of the Golden Gate Bridge in the opening sequences when Rudd's character, Scott Lang, is picked up by his buddy Luis from the San Quentin State Penitentiary, conveniently over the bridge in Marin. The road that they're driving on is Conzelman Road, which is a popular way for tourists to get up to Battery Spencer, which has one of the best views of the Golden Gate Bridge with the city skyline by car. Afterwards, Scott bunks with his pal Luis and his petty theft crime ring buddies in a down-and-out residential hotel in the Tenderloin called the Milgram Hotel. In real life, this is in fact a down-and-out residential hotel in the Tenderloin, but it's called the Riviera Hotel, located at Jones and Ellis, 2 blocks away from a luxury Nico hotel, and 3 blocks away from the designer boutiques in Union Square. In this sequence, Scott enters the building and goes up a set of stairs where residents are mingling out in the hallways. Now, I haven't personally been to this hotel myself, and there aren't any images available, but it looks like it was actually shot in the hotel. But when you get to Louise's apartment and you get a good interior shot, this looks like a soundstage or another apartment somewhere, because this is way too fancy for a low-rent San Francisco pad. Plus, the windows are all wrong. These are bay windows, which are pretty typical for nicer San Francisco apartments. They have 3 panes and they lean out like this. If you look on the exterior of the Riviera, you'll notice that it only has plain, single-pane sliding windows. Scott, Louise, and his pals then plan a robbery at, you guessed it, Hank Pym's home. The exterior shots are taken of a gorgeous multi-million-dollar house located near Haight-Ashbury, across the street from Buena Vista Park with its spectacular views. It's got that characteristic San Francisco gingerbread detailing. Fun fact, this was also Lynn's house in HBO's 2014 drama TV series, Looking. Then the rest of the movie is mostly set within the Pym House, which is richly appointed and entirely fictional. The real house was converted into modern apartments some time back, I'm sure equally as gorgeous and richly appointed. Later, as Hank is training Scott on becoming the new Ant-Man, Scott takes his crazy jailbreak ride through financial districts, including this one, which I believe is Pine, just north of Market. And towards the final climax of the plotline, Scott gets hauled away in a cop car down Broadway in North Beach, which comes to a screeching halt at the foot of the Peter Macarini steps. This part of North Beach is a super popular filming location for other Marvel movies as well. Just one block over on Montgomery and Vallejo, Ant-Man and the Wasp had a car chase scene. And Ang Lee's 2003 Hulk was confronted by military forces here. And it's also the location for another San Francisco-based superhero, Venom. In fact, it's the location of the exterior facade of the house that main character Eddie Brock, played by Tom Hardy, and his ex-girlfriend Anne, played by Michelle Williams, lived on. It's got a pretty fantastic view of the Transamerica building. And fun fact, it's right across the street from Basic Instinct's Detective Nick Curran's house, played by Michael Douglas. Full circle, people! Happily for SF residents, this movie has tons and tons of on-location shots, and there isn't a moment where you aren't glimpsing some very familiar streets. This is the genesis story of Marvel's anti-hero Venom, a tar-looking creature with unearthly superpowers that accidentally arrives here on Earth and symbiotically takes over Eddie's body, where together they fight crime in the big city. Eddie is a down-and-out reporter who, after breaking up with his girlfriend, now lives in Chinatown, so we get lots of colorful footage of both neighborhoods.
Especially during this iconic motorcycle chase, first down Broadway's Barbary Coast in North Beach, turning left at Kearny, up the Peter Macarini steps, making a huge jump up top, strangely landing on Taylor several blocks over, then back at Kearny and Vallejo, frog leaping over the dead-end barrier.
Equally colorful is Eddie's local bar, which is not located in Chinatown, but is the Edinburgh Castle Pub located in the Tenderknob. Moving away from the MCU, another popular comic book series is The Terminator. In this Genisys installment, Game of Thrones' Emilia Clarke plays protagonist Sarah Connor with an encore performance from Arnold Schwarzenegger, the original Terminator, who has been reprogrammed to protect her. In the present past, San Francisco is destroyed, and while these scenes of Columbus, California, and the Golden Gate Bridge were filmed on location, the destruction is all CGI. Genisys also stars Jai Courtney as Resistance fighter Kyle Reese. Together, the three use a time machine to pop into the past future of San Francisco, hoping to stop Skynet, a powerful anti-human AI that's created by Cyberdyne Systems, before the destruction begins.
Cyberdyne is set at Oracle headquarters in Redwood Shores, south of SF. This fight scene took place in the main lobby of Building 500, where Larry has his offices.
They're tracked down by John Connor, Kyle's resistance leader and Sarah's future son, in what I'm 90% sure is the Sutter Stockton garage off Union Square. And a fight ensues when they realize he's a Terminator. After fighting off Terminator John, the trio retreat to a safe house located inside Hawk Hill in the Marin Headlands overlooking Golden Gate Bridge. Now, while there is in fact a secret underground bunker here, used mostly by locals for clandestine partying, I'm pretty sure the scenes of the safe house were in fact filmed on a soundstage.
Eventually, John tracks them down and Sarah blows up the safe house on her way out. Hijacking a school bus in the above parking lot, Terminator John chases them across the Golden Gate Bridge, sowing destruction everywhere.
The camera team spent a day filming the drive across the span for what they call background plates, but the action all took place inside of a studio in New Orleans and were then CGI'd in. Switching to Silicon Valley, naturally tons of movies and TV shows about the tech industry tend to be set in the Bay Area. In 2013, Fox released The Internship, starring Owen Wilson as Nick Campbell and Vince Vaughn as Billy McMahon, two middle-aged, out-of-work salesmen who land cushy tech internships at Google. This film is set on the zany Googleplex campus in Mountain View in Silicon Valley. And while it got a ton of great cameos, including this one of co-founder Sergey Brin, Notice that they are all outdoor shots. Due to the security at Google, no inside filming was allowed, so the vast majority of campus shots were done at the Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta. At the beginning of their internships, they are punked and sent to Stanford University, the real one, in search of a Professor Xavier. Yep, of the X-Men.
They actually find him, or someone who looks like him, under the west portal of the Quad, the central hub of the school.
Rose Byrne plays Dana, Nick's love interest, and you get these epic on-location shots of San Francisco from when they go on their first date
To a waterfront restaurant. The production notes say it's epic steak on the Embarcadero, but I believe it's the Bridge Tower room at its sister restaurant, the Waterbar, next door. And later, you get a romantic skyline of the Transamerica building from Dana's apartment on Montgomery and Union.
This location, by the way, is quite popular for fictional neighborhoods and was also used as Gene Wilder's in The Woman in Red and as Jennifer Lopez's in The Wedding Planner. You always have to have a scene with the iconic Golden Gate Bridge, and I think the internship has the best photography out of all the San Francisco movies. After a hard night of carousing and bonding, the team comes up with their best app idea up on Battery Spencer,
which you can get to on that Conzelman drive back from AntMan's San Quentin State Penitentiary.
In a similar fashion, the popular and long-running HBO series Silicon Valley was also shot mostly in and around Los Angeles, but used exterior establishing shots from up here in the Bay Area, specifically in downtown Palo Alto. Although it isn't explicitly stated, the incubator house that the team starts out in is a fictional house in Palo Alto, a la Facebook. So it would just make sense that the characters would pop down to downtown Palo Alto whenever they needed a bio break. The Pied Piper team had a few regular hangouts. Local Union 271 was popular for both business meetings and date nights and is located off the main University Avenue drag. La Morenita Mexican on Emerson, now permanently closed, for team dinners, and Phil's Coffee on Forest. And I wonder if the latter might not be another nod to Facebook, since it's a widely known fact that Mark Zuckerberg's favorite coffee brand is Phil's. Again, the exterior shots are real, the interior shots are fake. And there are a couple of one-time appearances at other Palo Alto favorites. Joya, where Lori takes Monica for lunch. The Rosencrown, aka Oxen Bowl, when Dinesh funds his cousin's startup. And Reposado, when Richard meets fellow CEO Javid for drinks. And it wouldn't be a true depiction of Silicon Valley without the famed Rosewood Sandhill Hotel happy hour, where rich VCs and tech executives go to mingle. Here at The Real Deal, Richard meets with billionaire investor Russ Hanneman, who is loosely depicted off of two very eccentric characters, Sean Parker of Napster fame and Mark Cuban of Shark Tank. Spring 2020 saw the debut of two tech company-focused television series. The first one is NBC's Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which is essentially a retread of ABC's 2008 Eli Stone, but in this case, the main character, Zoe, played by Jane Levy, is a software development manager at fictional company SparkPoint, headquartered in San Francisco. The bulk of the show is being shot in and around Vancouver, BC, but several scenes in the pilot episode were shot on location in the city by the bay for authenticity. Right after the MRI in which Zoe gains her ability to hear people's heart songs, she experiences her first musical number while walking through North Beach.
These scenes are shot around Columbus, North Beach's Little Italy neighborhood. Behind her is popular Sottomare restaurant, which is located on Green Street near Washington Square. She emerges at the intersection of Green and Columbus, crosses Columbus with the Transamerica building behind her, ending with this finale at the familiar intersection of Montgomery and Union a few blocks down.
After hearing his heart song, Zoe and her crush Simon bond over a work break stroll down the Embarcadero waterfront.
Right here you can see Rincon Park with the distinctive bow and arrow sculpture behind them, and when the camera pivots 180, the Bay Bridge in front of them.
But then Zoe finds out that Simon has a fiance in the fake ferry building. Looks a lot like it, but sorry, there are no stairs inside the ferry building like that.
However, the outside shot of a disappointed Zoe walking away is definitely on location.
And then FX for Hulu released a new psychological, semi-sci-fi mini-series thriller called Devs, produced by Ex Machina director Alex Garland. The storyline revolves around a tech company called Amaya, likely located in Marin given all the surroundings, but Doesn't really say. The company's founder, Forrest, played by Parks and Rec's Nick Offerman, is this eerily 80s Steve Jobs-like messianic figure that is running some sort of super secret development project that becomes more and more sinister as the show's protagonist, Lily Chan, unravels it. The bulk of the stage sets were filmed in Surrey, England, but there's also this nice balance of Bay Area locations too.
Like the woodsy campus of Amaya, named after Forrest's daughter, with her creepy, impossibly tall 500-foot statue in the dead center of the office buildings.
These were all largely filmed on the UC Santa Cruz campus and included spots like the Montgomery Library,
Quarry Amphitheater, Classroom Unit Bridge at Science Hall, and the ravine behind it. Lily's apartment is located in the Mission District, across the street from Dolores Park, where her local homeless person, Pete, hangs out during the day. In episode 2, Lily meets with a mystery man at this spectral location. The scene prior had a screenshot of their mobile chat detailing a meeting at Battery Godfrey, which happens to be a scenic old gun battlement ruin at Fort Scott in the Presidio. And if you go early enough in the morning, you too can catch the fog rolling in.
And then finally in episode 7, 2 of the Secret Project team members, Katie and Lyndon, talk about predetermination and parallel universes
At breathtaking Alpine Lake Dam in Marin County.
Phew! All right, that's a wrap. There were definitely more great locations in these movies and TV shows than I could cover in one short video, so feel free to share any other gems that you might have down in the comments below. And let me know if there are any other great Bay Area-based movies I should be covering in future videos. Next video, we'll do this again with some of the more popular San Francisco action flicks. Thanks for watching, and until next time, peace out.
If that information was valuable to you, please help me make it available to more people. Subscribe by hitting that red subscribe button down below, or like the video by hitting the thumbs up icon. Thanks so much.